Hello, I'm Jackie Chan, actor, martial artist, and the guy who's jumped off more rooftops than I can count. I was born in Hong Kong in 1954. My parents didn't have an easy life. They were refugees from China's civil war.
Refugees are people who are forced to leave their home country because it's too dangerous to stay, often due to war, conflict, or natural disasters. They leave behind everything familiar and move to another country to find safety and a chance to rebuild their lives.
My parents didn't have an easy life. They were refugees from China's civil war. My dad was a spy for the Chinese nationalist government, and his dangerous role forced him to flee mainland China when the communists came to power. My mom? She had her own extraordinary past, being a skilled gambler and involved in the Shanghai underworld. That's the part of their lives I didn't learn about until much later. As a refugee family, life was difficult, and my parents struggled to make ends meet. To make things even tougher, when I was 7, they had to leave me in a boarding school while they went to Australia to work. It was hard for a young child to understand why my parents weren't around. But I guess they thought it was for the best. My school wasn't a normal one. There were no math or science classes, no typical subjects at all. Instead, we trained rigorously in martial arts, acrobatics, acting, and singing. This was my world for the next 10 years, and it was much tougher than most people can imagine. The training was relentless.
Relentless means something that keeps going without stopping or slowing down, even when it's hard or exhausting. It doesn't give any breaks or rest and continues with full intensity.
The training was relentless. We started early in the morning and sometimes continued until late at night. We trained for 10 to 12 hours every day, without a break. The goal was always the same: perfection. There was no room for error. If you made a mistake, you didn't just get corrected. You got punished, either by being hit with a stick or being forced to do physically exhausting exercises. We had no weekends, no holidays, no time off. Every day was just more training. There was no escape from this harsh routine. As a child, I hated it. I cried. I wanted to leave. But there was no choice. I had no parents to turn to, no home outside of this tough environment. This was my life, and I had to push through it. When I finally left the academy, I started working as a stuntman in Hong Kong's film industry. I wasn't a star. Far from it. I was the guy in the background who would get punched, kicked, and thrown off rooftops. But I wanted more, and I realized something important. If I wanted to stand out, I couldn't just be another martial artist. I had to create my own style. That's when I decided to mix action with comedy. Instead of being the tough guy who never gets hurt, I became the underdog.
Underdog is someone who starts out with less chance of winning or succeeding because they are seen as weaker, smaller, or less powerful than others. Despite this, the underdog continues to fight or compete, often facing bigger challenges or stronger opponents. Even though they are not expected to win, they sometimes overcome the odds and surprise everyone by succeeding.
Instead of being the tough guy who never gets hurt, I became the underdog. The guy who takes a hit, stumbles, but always gets back up. It wasn't easy at first. My films failed, and people told me things like,
"Stick to traditional tough guy roles. No one wants to see a martial artist making jokes."
You're wasting your talent with this comedy. Martial arts is supposed to be serious.
I've broken bones, torn muscles, and almost died more times than I can count. But I've always believed in giving my fans everything I've got. It took me 10 years to break through in the film industry. Looking back, those years at the school taught me how to withstand pain to keep going, no matter what. It was brutal, yes, but it was also the foundation for everything I became later in life. What I've learned is that true strength isn't in avoiding the fall. It's in rising after every hit. Each setback is just the start of your next move.